Okay, so let's dive in. We're looking at the Grok Trade Daily Stock Market Summary for April 4th, 2025. Got the report right here, taking a snapshot of, well, pretty crazy day in the market. Economy, crypto, the whole shebang.
Yeah, definitely looks like one for the books.
So we're going to try to unpack the highlights, what it all means, without getting too lost in the, all the little details.
Sounds good. Let's jump in.
First off, U.S. stocks took a huge hit. I mean, really took a tumble.
Yeah, right at the gate, that's what Grok Trade highlights. NASDAQ and S&P 500 both down 6%. Dow dropped 5.4%. Even small caps took a 4.3% hit.
Woof. So what triggered this massive sell-off?
Well, looks like two big things, according to the report. First, there's a lot of, anxieties, let's say, about this potential trade war with China heating up again.
Right, that's been bubbling under the surface for a while now.
And then you've got Fed Chair Powell making some pretty strong statements about inflation. It's sticky, not going away anytime soon, and warning about slower growth, especially with these tariffs adding fuel to the fire.
Double whammy. So what did Grok Trade's technical analysis say about all this?
Oh, they didn't mince words. Called it an absolute waterfall on the charts. Basically a steep, sudden drop. But here's where it gets interesting. They also pointed to signs of capitulation.
Okay, capitulation. So like investors just saying, I'm out.
Exactly, throwing in the towel. And the thing is, there was huge trading volume during this drop, which they say often signals,
The end of the panic selling.
yeah, you got it. Once that pressure's gone, it can actually create space for buyers to step back in, potentially setting us up for, a bounce.
Interesting. Now, here's where things get a bit strange. Amid all this market chaos, we got some surprisingly good economic news. 228,000 new jobs added in March. That's got to be a positive, right?
On the surface, absolutely. Really strong jobs report, kind of a bright spot in all this. But, and this is key, the market didn't really react that way.
You're saying good news, bad reaction.
Pretty much. Even with solid job numbers and the Fed, taking a wait-and-see approach on interest rates, investors seemed way more spooked by that trade war.
Grok Trade actually called this out, right?
Yeah.
Talked about how everyone was piling into bonds, pushing that 10-year Treasury yield below 4%.
Exactly. It seems almost counterintuitive. Jobs up, but everyone's running for cover.
Grok Trade called it the most notable thing about the day. Like people are just ignoring good news.
And it really shows you how much power these big geopolitical concerns and worries about future inflation have. I mean, they can totally overshadow positive economic data, at least in the short term.
Makes you think. Okay, let's switch gears for a sec.
Crypto.
What happened over in that corner of the world while stocks were tanking?
Well, Bitcoin actually held its own, even managed a 1% gain.
Huh. Resilient little guy.
Grok Trade called it a consolidation phase, basically trading sideways, not making any huge moves, like it's taking a breather while everyone figures out what's next.
What about gold and silver? How'd the traditional safe havens do?
Funny enough, both actually underperformed Bitcoin that day. Silver had a pretty noticeable drop, while gold held up okay, relatively stable.
What did Grok Trade say about that?
They think it might indicate some underlying buying interest in gold, despite all the market jitters.
Interesting. Okay, before we wrap up, I did notice Grok Trade mentioned their mentorship program in the report. Anything you can tell us about that?
Sure. Sounds like it's geared towards, traders who are looking to get better at, the whole technical analysis side of things, improve their strategies, manage risk more effectively. They offer some personalized coaching and even have a whole community for traders of all levels.
That was pretty comprehensive. All right, so stepping back, we've seen a day where the stock market basically nosedived thanks to those trade war fears. But then we also had a surprisingly good jobs report that everyone seemed to ignore. And to top it off, a mixed bag in crypto with Bitcoin, standing strong.
Yeah, it really highlights the disconnect between current economic data and, I guess you could say, the overall market sentiment, something to think about for sure, especially how much weight we should give to geopolitical anxieties and inflation concerns versus, positive employment numbers. A lot to unpack there as we try to make sense of the bigger economic picture.
For sure. A lot to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that's a wrap for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us.